Nick here with Salmon Slayers TV. Today we're going to go over how to rig a steelhead worm nose down. This is very effective for bobber dogging and even float fishing if you just want to change things up. It's a very useful technique, especially in pressured rivers, high water for winter steelhead. So stay tuned, we'll get into that. The first step is going to be take some leader. I like to go about arm's length. I'll cut that. And I like to use bait loop on this because even though you're not really fishing bait, if you want to, after you get the worm rigged on, you can always put a little piece of prawn or egg in or something, or some yarn to hold scent. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wraps around the shank of the hook. Take the line back through the eye. We can do a more detailed video specifically on the egg loop knot if you guys want. One thing you're going to want to do is spit on the knot so that way it doesn't fray your line when you cinch it down. If you fray the line, it'll weaken and sometimes it'll break on your hook set, or when it shouldn't break just because you frayed the line. So after we get the hook tied on, next step is to thread a corky down the line. I do this so if you're bobber dogging, it just keeps the worm up right off the bottom so you're not dragging on bottom, and it also just gives them some contrast so they can key in on the worm. So next step, you're going to take a worm threader, or I just took a piece of wire, it all works the same. You're going to take some line and put it through the fold at the bottom. This is basically the same concept as putting a bobber stop on your line, just with the worm. Now you're going to want to thread this needle through the worm. Another good thing about this technique is you can float a worm if you're out of jig heads. This is one way to do it. And like I said, pressured river situations, this is great because 9 out of 10 guys fishing a worm are probably just putting it on a jig head. So if you can see, the key here is you just want to, it's not super important, but you just want to try to keep the threader down the middle of the worm so when your line goes through, it's not getting the worm all kinked up. Slowly working it down the worm. We'll leave about that much drifting off. So we'll poke through about 1.5 inches up the worm. This is just a 4-inch worm, so you can use 6. You can go bigger if you want. So now you want about a couple inches of tag in sticking through the loop. And then you're just going to slide this whole worm down your line, just like you would a bobber stop. Bomac bobber stop, same concept. Key is to just work it down slow so you don't rip, stretch the worm. You want to keep it looking natural. And boom, that comes right through. You're just going to want to pull the line through. And first, put a little bit of spit on the line so it doesn't mess up the inside of the worm. Boom. That's done. Slowly work this down the line. You can see right there, that's from not keeping the needle right down the center. It's not that big of a deal. But Now I'm just going to slowly pull the line through the worm. Once it gets down to the corky, should look a little something like that. And there you go. So now you can tie the other end of this leader. If you're bobber dogging, straight on your swivel where you connect your pencil lead, and this will just drift just like it would eggs, just right off the bottom. Or if you're float fishing, you might want to add some split shot about halfway down the leader just to get you down a little more. And what's nice about this is you can just slide all this up a little bit. You can put some yarn with scent, a little chunk of eggs, or some shrimp in the bait loop. And yeah, just another tip to catch you more steel.